Guts vs Rosine, my favorite 1 vs 1 fight in Berserk. Probably a crazy statement to make, as there are many amazing fights we have gotten throughout Berserk, but even then, I still hold Guts vs Rosine as my favorite fight. And not to mention, the Lost Children arc is also one of my favorite arcs in Berserk. I reread this arc many times just to experience this fight. But what is it about this fight that makes it amazing that I place it as my favorite? Everything. This fight checks every single box I look for when it comes to what makes a fight truly amazing, and I want to show you why it's my favorite. So I'm going to show you my perspective, how I view the world and Berserk. Starting with the art. We all know Miura is a master when it comes to his art, and my god, can I look at Berserk's art forever. But when it comes to fights, I truly believe Miura was at his best during Guts vs Rosine. Now what makes me say that? Well, there's two reasons. One being just by looking at the amount of expressions Guts and Rosine have during their entire fight. Miura has always been amazing at depicting emotion through art, and this fight is one of the best I've seen. Look at them. We have Guts being portrayed as this walking calamity. His anger has never been expressed to this degree during other fights, and it was genuinely one of the most terrifying moments Kid Me experienced. Seeing Guts being drawn like this, and yes, I know, what the hell is wrong with me reading Berserk so young, but the way Miura pushes Guts' humanity right to the edge of monstrosity through just his art alone is unreal. Guts is drawn as this unstoppable calamity, a walking storm of rage, and every time Miura cuts back to Jill or Rosine's terrified reaction, the fight takes on a completely different weight. These pages aren't just badass, they're horrifying, heartbreaking, and layered with tragedy, and can be found throughout their entire fight. I mean, just look at this. The way Guts was stabbed through his cheek and still fighting on with extreme anger, this was badass as hell. But then the next page, we see a terrified Rosine, which made me feel so bad, as I was reminded all this hatred Guts has is being directed to a kid. One of the saddest and best thing about the art during this fight was seeing how as the fight progressed, Rosine's mask cracks under Guts' hatred. Her confidence, her cruelty, her monstrous expressions, all of it gets peeled away until we're left with nothing but a scared little girl who regrets what she's become. And the art conveys that during the fight, where she's terrified, regretful, sad. Her entire world was torn apart by Guts' hatred, which was good and a sad thing, as she regained her humanity but at the cost of her life. And this is just one aspect on why I love this fight so much. As you can see with all the images I'm showing in this video, art, while it's not the most important thing, it can help, and Miura truly used it to its fullest in this fight, as all this art that doesn't have dialogue truly tells us so much about Guts and Rosine, and how despite how badass this fight is with this amazing art, it's also one of the saddest fights in Berserk as the fight progresses, as we can understand both sides and where they come from. Second aspect as to why I love this fight is this is truly the only 1 vs 1 fight where Guts is pushed to his extreme limit. Now sure, Guts has had ribs broken, body all crushed, and him pushing himself to stand back up, but there's a difference. I'm not just talking about Guts being pushed to his physical limit, but rather his mental limit as well. Compare it to fights like Guts vs Moskis, some other apostles, against the sea god, trolls, etc. Not one of those fights has truly pushed Guts to such agonizing mental pain like Rosine did. Guts has been shown throughout the story to have a soft spot for kids because of his traumatic childhood, and he can relate to these kids because just like them, all of them didn't have an option. They didn't know any better. They were thrust into this life and resorted to this lifestyle due to either abusive parents or a cruel world that forced them to make this choice, and he truly feels bad when he hurts them, as shown in the Golden Age arc and even the Black Swordsman arc when he got this innocent girl involved. And Rosine was the one that truly pushed Guts to the limit, as unlike the rest of the kids he accidentally got involved with were killed off very quickly, but Rosine, being an apostle means this one, Guts can't just brush her death easily. She keeps on fighting, which is why this fight truly was one of the hardest fights for Guts the more it went on, and it's easily proven by the fact that Guts literally says how he blew the chance to finish off Rosine many times. Not once has Guts done that with all the other one-on-one fights he has had, and not once did he show hesitation towards the enemy. And the reason for that hesitation of Guts towards Rosine was because he has a soft spot for kids, and hearing Rosine's story from Jill made him feel empathy, but that's not the entire reason why Guts Guts felt so much hesitation and anger, and this is the other aspect I love about this fight that was intentional by Miura. It's Jill and Rosine being parallels of Guts and Griffith. It's why I believe why he had so much trouble fighting Rosine, because he saw himself and Griffith in Jill and Rosine. He saw a different path he and Griffith could have taken. The fact that Rosine and Jill's friendship remains even after she turned into an apostle, seeing Jill willing to talk with Rosine after the horrible things Rosine put her through, even give her life to protect Rosine, this is a double-edged sword for Guts. It's why he shows so much more hatred in this fight compared to the rest, and it's because Rosine's existence forces Guts to face a harsh reality that he doesn't want to acknowledge, that all these apostles that he's been killing without hesitation, brutally, this immense hatred he has for Griffith betraying him, it was cracking because of Rosine. Rosine shattered Guts' perspective that he created, that made them all monsters, pure evil, that all these apostles were pure evil, but Rosine shattered it because she's a kid. He's been facing apostles who were all adults, fully aware of the situation, you can say. So he had this perspective of how all these people that turned into apostles were always like this, even while human, because of Griffith. The God Hand and Griffith gaslighted Guts into thinking this is who Griffith always was. And while that's true in a way, it's also false, because there was clear signs by Miura showing us how the God Hand manipulated Griffith into giving in and sacrificing everyone. If that's who Griffith always was, why did the God Hand need to manipulate Griffith into making that choice? And hearing Jill's story about Rosine shattered Guts' perspective. This is the first kid apostle he met. Hearing Rosine was just a kid that loved doing stuff boys love doing, living in an abusive household, loving fairy tales and using them as escapism. How can a kid be fully aware of that decision she made? Clearly she wasn't in her right mind, making Guts finally question a little all this hatred he has, and that's why he felt to finish off Rosine many times. But also, like I said, this was a double-edged sword for Guts. While this fight shattered Guts' perspective on apostles, this also made Guts more full of hatred, pure hatred, because if all these apostles aren't purely evil as he thought, why do they still do all the stuff that they do? And it hurts Guts most that these apostles still carry humanity, yet still do these horrible stuff and are able to live with that, with what they did, and it makes him more angry. And it's just so interesting seeing Guts truly let out all these emotions he has during the fight with Rosine, as not once did he ever talk like this with other apostles he has faced. A part of him truly didn't want to destroy this special relationship between Rosine and Jill, as it's clear Miura made Jill and Rosine a Guts and Griffith parallel. So a part of Guts didn't want to destroy this potential path he and Griffith could have taken, and as much as he hates Griffith, a part of him will always love him, the Griffith he bonded with, the one he laughed with, the one who risked his life for Guts. So a part of him wanted to preserve this friendship with Rosine and Jill. He subconsciously wanted them to have a happy ending, unlike him and Griffith, but his hatred kept overwhelming him at times, and I wouldn't say his hatred won, as there's a reason why Miura didn't draw Guts giving Rosine the finishing blow, and this is why it's my favorite fight in Berserk. There's just so many layers onto this fight. Could I be reaching on some of them? Maybe, but that's the beauty of looking into series. Everyone has a different opinion and perspective, and Miura made Rosine into the ultimate mirror. She's both victim and monster, child and killer, and that contradiction doesn't just break Rosine, it breaks Guts. He hesitates, he rages, he doubts, he hates, he empathizes. Every single emotion in him and Rosine get dragged out of him in this fight. They both let out their rawest emotions, and it's so painful and so unforgettable for me, as it feels like two broken people communicating the only way they know how, through extreme violence. And the ending of the fight is what seals the deal. Guts doesn't land the final blow, because this fight isn't about victory. It ended with Rosine flying off, but slowly falling, all while recalling her parents. This is such a beautiful conclusion to a fight, and I hope one day we will get this arc animated, as to see this all fully adapted will be the best thing ever. Well, this is the end of the video. I had fun just gushing over this fight, as I love it so much, so I hope you enjoyed. For those that watched till the end of the video, I appreciate you, and I'd be interested in what your favorite fights are. Bye!